G'day everyone, Dr. Liam Cartwright here. Now, before you click away thinking this is going to be awkward, stick with me for just a minute because what I'm about to share with you might actually save your life. I've been a urologist for over 30 years, and I've seen thousands of blokes walk through my clinic doors in Melbourne with prostate issues that could have been prevented. So, let's talk about something most men are too embarrassed to discuss with their doctor but probably should. Here's a fact that'll knock your socks off. Harvard University conducted a massive study and found that men who ejaculate more than 21 times a month have a 33% lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who only do it 7 times or less. Yeah, you heard that right. 21 times a month. That's not just some old wives' tale or internet rubbish. That's proper medical research from one of the world's most respected universities. Now, I know what you're thinking. Dr. Liam, are you seriously telling me that having a wank is good for my health? Well, yes and no. It's not quite that simple, and that's exactly why I wanted to make this video. Because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and after 3 decades of treating blokes with prostate problems, I reckon it's time we had an honest conversation about this. Let me give you some context first. Your prostate is a small gland about the size of a walnut that sits just below your bladder and in front of your rectum. It's absolutely crucial for your reproductive system because it produces the fluid that makes up a major part of your semen. Despite how important it is, most men don't give their prostate a second thought until something goes wrong. Pain, difficulty urinating, or worse, cancer. Here's a sobering statistic for you. Prostate cancer is the second most common cancer in men worldwide, right after skin cancer. In Australia alone, we diagnose over 20,000 new cases every year. That's roughly 1 bloke diagnosed every 25 minutes. And here's what really gets me. Many of these cases could have been caught earlier or even prevented if we'd had more open conversations about men's health and less stigma around topics like this. Now, let's talk about masturbation. For years, this topic has been shrouded in shame and completely bonkers myths. Some people thought it was harmful, immoral, or that it'd make you go blind or grow hair on your palms. Complete nonsense, of course. The science actually tells us something completely different. Research has shown a direct connection between masturbation and prostate health, and I'm going to explain exactly how that works. But first, you might be wondering, how can something as basic as this have such significant effects on your body and overall health? Well, let's dive into it properly. Masturbation is a completely natural human behavior that occurs across all ages and cultures. However, the effects vary quite a bit depending on the situation, how often it happens, and how each person integrates it into their lifestyle. The real question is this widespread behavior actually beneficial for your health in general, or does it hide problems that rarely get talked about? Let me give you a broader perspective on the connection between masturbation and men's health. For decades, masturbation has been surrounded by beliefs and taboos that not only made many people feel guilty, but also prevented others from discussing its pros and cons openly. Some blokes felt like it was draining their life force, while others worried it would lead to physical problems like weakness or difficulty concentrating. But contemporary research debunks many of these notions by showing that masturbation actually has a much more nuanced role to play. For starters, masturbation can be an effective way to reduce stress, which directly impacts your mental and physical well-being. When you masturbate, your body releases endorphins and dopamine, those feel-good chemicals that create a sense of relaxation and well-being. In our modern society where so many people are pushed to their limits, this can be incredibly useful despite the pressure and fast pace of life. Regular sessions have been shown to improve immune function, lower cortisol levels, that's your stress hormone, and improve sleep quality. Another fascinating aspect is the effect on your cardiovascular system. Masturbation increases blood flow, which can promote heart health, just like other intimate activities. Now, the cardiovascular benefits aren't as significant as going for a run or a walk, but by avoiding congestion and maintaining good oxygen supply, it's still beneficial for your pelvic region's health. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like any other behavior, masturbation should be viewed from a balanced perspective. Compulsive practice can interfere with other aspects of life, including relationships, productivity, and even mental health. For some people, masturbation becomes a coping mechanism for dealing with unpleasant feelings, and that's when a cycle of emotional or even physical dependence can develop. At this point, it's crucial to recognize when a habit stops being beneficial and becomes a problem instead. We also need to consider that the effects of masturbation change throughout a person's life. For older men, there might be a more pragmatic connection with prostate health, but for teenagers and young adults, it might be more about exploring their own bodies and sexuality. The optimal balance can vary depending on your life stage, and what works today might need to be adjusted later on. With that context in mind, the basic idea is that masturbation is normal behavior. You need to be aware of it to understand when and how it can be harmful and when it can be useful. This is an essential step in maintaining your overall health and prostate health. Always remember that every person is different. What suits one bloke might not suit another, and it's important to consider how the habit affects your own life. Right, so now that you've got the bigger picture, let's get into the actual impact of masturbation on prostate health specifically. This is one of the most debated research topics in urology. Here's that fascinating fact I mentioned earlier. Studies have shown that regular ejaculation can contribute to cleansing the prostate by reducing the buildup of chemicals that, when present in excess, can lead to inflammation or even promote the development of abnormal cells. Therefore, for many men, a healthy frequency of ejaculation can help them avoid conditions like prostate cancer. But it goes beyond statistics and numbers. Masturbation influences emotional and psychological factors alongside physical ones. Many men tell me that this act helps them reduce stress and release the tensions accumulated in daily life. This isn't just personal opinion. According to studies, the body releases a series of substances during ejaculation, particularly dopamine and endorphins, which promote feelings of relaxation and pleasure. Improved mood and reduced anxiety are strongly influenced by these chemical effects. However, excessive masturbation can be harmful, especially when it develops into compulsive behavior. Guilt, lack of interest in social situations, and even problems in close relationships can result from this compulsion. Moreover, excesses can be associated with a progressive decrease in intimate sensitivity, which can affect pleasure during intercourse. This type of emotional and psychological influence shouldn't be underestimated. Another issue is the excessive use of artificial stimuli like pornography, which is often linked with masturbation. According to some studies, excessive consumption of pornography can change the way the brain responds to intimate signals, leading to exaggerated expectations and affecting enjoyment of everyday life. Since intimate health is an essential aspect of overall well-being, this is an important consideration. The overall health of the reproductive system is influenced by masturbation, or more precisely, by the frequency of ejaculations. Frequent ejaculation can help older men reduce the risk of fluid accumulation in the prostate, a common condition that can cause benign prostatic hyperplasia. That's an enlargement of the gland volume. This increase can lead to uncomfortable feelings like difficulty urinating or a constantly full bladder sensation. But again, the main goal is always balance. While frequent ejaculation can be beneficial, longer periods without masturbation or intimate activities can lead to an accumulation of secretions in the prostate, increasing the risk of infections and inflammation. It's important to recognize and respect your body's limits. Now, given your expanded knowledge about the pros and cons of masturbation for body and mind, you might be wondering whether there are practical strategies for preventing prostate cancer or routines that could maximize these benefits and reduce risks. Let me share some discoveries that'll definitely change your understanding of this topic and give you knowledge you've probably never heard before. As we've seen so far, it depends on balance and the situation. Masturbation can have various positive and negative effects. Now we're going to tackle something that'll really surprise you. Facts, findings, and scientific illustrations that contradict preconceived notions about this practice. Get ready, because what you're about to learn might change your understanding of how important it is to maintain your intimate health. Let's look at that interesting fact again in more detail. According to the Harvard University study, men who ejaculate more than 21 times per month have a significantly lower probability of developing prostate cancer than those who do it fewer than 7 times a month. Despite its seemingly arbitrary nature, this figure has a real basis. Ejaculations contribute to detoxifying the prostate by eliminating potentially harmful compounds that can accumulate over time. This finding confirms that choosing the right frequency is important for both health prevention and enjoyment. You might be even more surprised to learn that this effect isn't limited to masturbation. Intimate activities and even erotic dreams that trigger spontaneous ejaculation can play a similar role. This indicates that the regularity of ejaculation is more important for prostate health than the specific cause of ejaculation. It reminds us that our bodies are highly adaptable and constantly seeking balance. The effect that masturbation can have on the immune system is another fascinating truth that few people are aware of. According to research, there's a temporary increase in white blood cells, which are essential for fighting infections and strengthening the immune system during masturbation. In other words, masturbation could help strengthen the body's defenses and reduce stress, especially during times when the body is more vulnerable, like during high stress or seasonal changes. And that's not all. Studies have also shown that masturbation helps lower blood pressure, particularly in people with moderate hypertension. This phenomenon is due to the release of oxytocin and other hormones during orgasm, which relax blood vessels, improve circulation, and simultaneously lower blood pressure. This is proof that the effects of this practice extend far beyond the realm of intimacy, even though it can't replace medical care. Now, let me give you an example that might seem paradoxical, but when we consider the human body as a whole, it gains full significance. Frequent ejaculations could, in certain situations, deplete the body's energy and lead to fatigue or even cause a weakening of the reproductive system. As described in certain cultures and traditional medical systems like Ayurveda, this reminds us that balance is essential. Even though modern science generally doesn't agree with this view, even seemingly healthy behaviors can be dangerous when excessive or improperly used. Finally, the connection between masturbation and emotional health is often overlooked. Although we just discussed stress reduction, it's important to remember that masturbation can also play a role here. For some people, it's a beneficial approach to connecting with their body and exploring their sexuality. However, it can become an obstacle to self-knowledge and mental health when used as a coping strategy to avoid dealing with difficult feelings. It's important to understand how and why you engage in this behavior. So how can you put all this into practice to ensure this habit actually improves your health and well-being? That's the main question, and I'm going to give you some concrete strategies right now. One of the most important things to recognize is the direct connection between a balanced lifestyle and prostate health, as well as overall well-being. Frequent ejaculations are helpful, but they're only part of the equation. According to some studies, physical exercise has a significant impact on prostate health. Regular walks, for example, can reduce the risk of inflammation and improve blood circulation in the pelvis. Therefore, combining exercise with intimate activity or masturbation is an effective tactic. Diet is another crucial factor. A diet rich in antioxidants, such as berries, green tea, and tomatoes, which contain lots of lycopene, can help protect the prostate from damage by free radicals. Zinc is necessary for normal prostate function. Zinc-rich foods like nuts and seeds are valuable allies. Combined with moderate masturbation, these eating habits form a solid foundation for good health. Now let's turn to a less obvious topic, the effect of sleep. Research suggests that prolonged sleep loss can increase the risk of prostate dysfunction and dysregulate the levels of intimacy hormones, including testosterone. That's why rest is just as important as any other health habit. Remember that masturbation shouldn't be a substitute for sleep or other necessary activities. In this situation too, balance is crucial. The influence of emotional state is often overlooked. People who experience a lot of stress or worry may turn to masturbation as a coping mechanism. Although this can temporarily reduce stress, it's important to address the root cause. Stress reduction techniques like yoga, meditation, and mindfulness can alleviate the temptation to use masturbation as a means of emotional relief. This is especially important for people who believe the practice is turning into compulsive behavior. How does this compare to pornography use? This is a sensitive topic that's closely linked to the habit for many people. Pornography can be stimulating, but excessive consumption is associated with problems like desensitization to intimate pleasure and exaggerated expectations about intimacy. For people who want to maintain a more balanced relationship with masturbation and consequently with their personal health, limiting or eliminating pornography is a wise decision. Right, let me wrap this all up for you blokes. After 30 years of practice, I can tell you with absolute certainty that taking care of your prostate health doesn't have to be complicated or embarrassing. The key takeaways here are simple. Regular ejaculation, whether through masturbation, intimate activities, or otherwise, can genuinely reduce your risk of prostate problems. The sweet spot seems to be around 21 times a month, according to that Harvard research. But remember, it's all about balance. Too much can lead to problems with relationships, productivity, and even physical sensitivity. Too little might mean missing out on some genuine health benefits. Pay attention to your body. Maintain a healthy lifestyle with proper diet and exercise. Get enough sleep, and manage your stress in healthy ways. If you're experiencing any prostate symptoms, difficulty urinating, pain, or anything unusual, don't be a hero about it. Come see your doctor. Early detection is absolutely crucial when it comes to prostate issues. And fellas, there's no shame in having an honest conversation with your GP about any of this stuff. Trust me, we've heard it all before, and we're here to help, not to judge. Look after yourselves, and remember, your health is nothing to be embarrassed about. Cheers.